I recently got into a new TV show called Lucifer. It's about the devil, and one of the recurring themes of the show is this whole concept of hell and the recurrence of some type of event over and over and over again that is terrible to you. And that got me thinking, what is something that I would consider one of my personal hells? That answer, my friends, is resume writing. Hi everyone, welcome back. As you know, my name's Karen and I am trying to become a UX designer just like you. This week, I actually wanted to share with you my resume, but more importantly, I wanted to share with you my trial and error process of resume writing and the different drafts that I went through to get my final result. Because for me, this was my first design-related resume, and I didn't really know where to start. I had to ask a lot of people for help, for advice, and I wanted to share that with you so that maybe your resume writing process could be easier when it is time for you to make one.
So the first thing that I wanted to show you guys were the 3 templates that I got my resume inspiration from. I found these on the Figma community page, and they were just styles that I liked and were downloaded by a lot of people. The reason why I wanted to show you this was because I wanted to make sure that you don't make the assumption that I did, and that is that just because a resume has been downloaded by thousands of people does not make it good enough for you to submit to a UX design job. And the reason that I'm saying this is because I actually used one of these templates, sent it to a couple of friends, even people in the design community, and I actually got back a lot of negative feedback. I guess I had assumed that if I had followed a template that a lot of other people also followed, that it would make it okay. But that's actually not the case. There were actually quite a bit of design flaws to the template that I used, and there were also some things that were redundant, things that I didn't need to put into the resume, and I'm glad that it was pointed out to me before I submitted it off to any HR people. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of this as well. Just because something is provided to you and there's a template doesn't necessarily mean that you should follow it. So if you take a look at the screen, you'll see 3 versions of my resume. From left to right, it goes from oldest to the most recent. I'm not completely finished, but I did want to show you what I have so far because I didn't want to go another week without posting a YouTube video. So I wanted to show you guys what I have. Aesthetically, you'll notice that I removed the profile photo. And the reason for that is I found out that it is technically illegal for employers to judge an applicant based off of their age, their race, their gender. So by putting a photo, you are allowing them to do that. So remove any pictures, which I found extremely ironic since all of the templates I came across had pictures in them. So definitely remove your picture. The other thing that you'll notice that I changed is I got rid of this colored background in the banner. And the reason for that is I was informed that I might have issues with online ATS systems if I leave those colors there. So those ATS systems is basically what your resume is run through when you submit an online application. So the colors might cause issues, which we don't want if we're going to put all this effort into a resume. So I got rid of all these little colors and I just put like a really plain solid banner color that was just slightly different from the rest of the resume to keep it sleek and simple. The other thing that is majorly different is you'll notice that I have a lot of different alignment issues. That was from the template, and I thought that, if it was in the template, I should just keep it. But some of my design friends said that it just looked messy and was not very simplistic, and it was just not very nice for the eye. So I ended up aligning everything. If you look on the right, everything is aligned. All of the headings have a line underneath. And if you notice in the original copy, that wasn't the case. There's lines under experience, education, activities, but then there's lines on top of profile, hard skills, soft skills, etc. So basically, I tried to create more consistency in the appearance of my resume. The other thing that I wanted to tell you guys is if you do choose to put any type of colors in your headings, make sure it has a strong contrast to the background, because my second version, I used this corally color and actually failed the plugin. It's called, let me see, Stark. And I failed the color contrast checker. So I decided to change that to the purple, which passed, and that was the reasoning behind that decision. The other piece of advice that I wanted to share with you was you'll notice that my banner changed from being on the left side of each resume page to being on the right. And if you recall, we learned that when people look at websites or posters or anything, they look from left to right and they focus more on things from top to bottom. So the most important things should be in the top left-hand side. And if my banner was on the left-hand side, people would be noticing the banner stuff first, which is actually the least important. And so I needed to switch those so that people looked at my experience. Now let's look at some of the details. So originally I had a profile section, hard skills section, soft skills section, and my motto. And I was told that I should not waste my resume space on a motto or a quote or anything like that. I should save all of that for my portfolio. So I decided to get rid of that. And instead, what I put is I just had a profile, a skills section that was broken down into software, design, programming, and other. And then I had an education section. Originally, my education section was in the body of the resume, but honestly, it was taking up so much space and I needed that space. So I decided to put it into the banner on the side. Another big piece of feedback that I was given on the actual meat of the resume was I was told that my descriptions were too vague and didn't have enough metrics and didn't really show what I accomplished. So I tried to change that by adding some more specifics. So for example, for this one, all women drivers, I said originally developed the company's branding, performed all the UX research, and designed the entire website. Gained experience in competitive audits, wireframing, personas, and prototyping. And the way that I changed that was I said designing the branding, company logo, poster, and entire website to attract prospective female driving school students. So here I'm showing what the objective was. And then I added some specific information like I did 9 interviews, 7 competitor audits, 2 personas, and 3 prototypes. I'll show you another example. So right here, I just put UX YouTube content creator. Originally, I wrote, my channel promotes a sense of community for newbie UX designers trying to break into the tech industry. I discussed topics such as UX career change, skills development, and research methods. And I also wrote it in kind of like a paragraph format, which I ended up changing to bullet points because it's easier to read. And instead, I wrote, produce weekly video content for a UXE channel geared towards transitioning design students, 100 plus subscribers, thanks guys, and 1,200 plus total views. So I just added some more information and metrics to show how the channel is doing and what I do for it. So that is definitely what you guys should do as well. It kind of shows how you contributed to your actual role and is not just a descriptor. The other thing that I wanted to show you guys was I had an additional section because I don't exactly have a huge amount of design experience and I didn't want the whole resume to be empty. So I wanted to put some of my extracurriculars. So I wanted to put my my UX Slack channel as well as my YouTube channel. But I was told by a couple of friends that I should change the label because activities just sounds very blah and gray, whereas all of the things that I've been doing should show my initiative and show my leadership. So I should rename it. So what I did was I renamed it to leadership. And that's where I put my Slack moderator role, the YouTube channel. And then I remembered, I should have known, but I remembered that I had an Etsy shop. It's kind of funny that I forgot to include that, but yeah, so I added that. Guys, really think hard about your resume and try and think of all the things that you do and how you can like squeeze it into your resume to show who you are and what you're interested in. I actually had to be reminded of this and I was like, all right, I should put my Etsy shop. What am I doing? Another look at my resume, you'll see that I put the dates here and then I put the timeline, which is kind of redundant. So I actually changed that in the more recent version. I just put the year from the start to the finish and it just looks cleaner this way. I also alphabetized the skill titles underneath each of the headings just to make it look a little nicer. And I also shortened my profile paragraph just because chances are people won't read the whole thing, so I might as well give them something quick and easy to look at, and hopefully they'll read more of it that way. I made my portfolio page clickable, so you should definitely try and do that. And under education, I put, of course, the UX Google certificate. I also put the UX research certificate with the University of Michigan, which I'm also doing. I also put my Agile project management certificate because I think it's really related to how design projects tend to run. And even though I don't have professional design education, I do have a degree in psychology, which is extremely related to human-centered design. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Now, as for the experience that I chose to highlight in my resume, just like you guys, most of us don't have, 3 years of design experience in the workplace. So we need to kind of find different creative ways to highlight what we know and what our skills are. So my design projects or design experience that I chose to highlight were my pro bono projects that I'm currently working on. And then I also tried to tie in the CAD design role that I had a bit during the pandemic to kind of show that I do understand how to use different design softwares and that I can design things. Even though it's in 3D, it is still design related. As for my work experience, my original resume didn't have my past roles because I thought that I should only be showcasing design work. But I was told by a couple of friends, no, you should show some of the roles that you had in the past because people are going to wonder, what did you do for the past 5 to 10 years? If everything that you have, if you check up here, everything up here is within the last year or year and a half. So you can't just leave your whole history empty. People are going to want to know what you've done. And if it's worth telling, tell it. So for me, of course, I wanted to highlight my management role because that's really important. You have organization skills, people skills, all of that, which is important in UX design. And then also my teaching experience in South Korea, the fact that I worked overseas and was able to be successful in a new environment, working with people that didn't speak the same language as me. These are things that I should showcase. So I decided, okay, I'll show it.
Resume writing is a very tedious process, and I think that we all can agree that it kind of sucks because you're trying to comb through your whole life's history and find a way to present yourself to the world in a way that is most advantageous to you. So it can be hard, especially if you don't know where to start. So I definitely can sympathize. If you're stressed out, I know how you feel. Just keep pushing, you're gonna finish it, and I'm sure it'll be great. The last thing that I wanted to show you guys before I finished off this video is actually not really related to UX. It's just something that I'm excited about. I had worked on a fun little side project of mine during the last week and I wanted to show you guys.
I made this floral table with an old table that I found on the side of the road and dried flowers that I collected from last summer. I developed a new hobby during the pandemic, and that was collecting and drying flowers, and I had a whole bunch, so I decided to use them up and decorate this old table. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!